Back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Tennessee Congressman Marsha Blackburn. Congressman, the President has been spending quite a bit of time overseas negotiating a new global warming treaty with countries from all over the world. You've criticized him for that,
yes,
saying that he should be more focused on the ISIS terrorist threat. Now, both of those are very important issues, but isn't it important that he spend time on both those things?
I think that for the President to be spending his time right now on global warming is a true misplacement of his priorities and his time.
Do you not think global warming is real?
I think that what we have is a climate change situation that is cyclical in nature, and you can go in and look at the IPCC reports and read many of the scientists' reports and affidavits. We are in a cooling period.
That it's not being caused by humans.
We are in a cooling period. There is actually, I was reading a report this week that was being done in conjunction with this. They're looking at the 1 degree, 2 degree elevation. And, you know, Pat, they are saying that 1 degree, there is not certainty as to how much of that is due to humans and how much of that is due to the cyclical nature. But
there are many scientists and NASA, I believe, who believe the opposite of that.
That think that the attribution, part of the attribution is human beings. Mm-hmm. That is right. Now, they're not certain that it is CO2, and there is disagreement on that issue as to whether it is the other gases and not necessarily a CO2 issue. But I think for this point in time, if you're going to have a symposium and world leaders are gathered dealing with radical Islamic extremism, and the pressure on that is the priority, and that is where they should be placing that priority. I attended the Copenhagen climate talks and was part of and was pleased that we came out of that with no agreement, and I'm very concerned that they're pushing for the Paris protocols. Plus, where does the President think he's going to get the money to spend on this? We are borrowing part of every dollar that we spend. We've got $19 trillion in debt. Where does he think he's going to get the money to give to China and India? And they've already said, we're going to use coal, we're not going to abide by it.
Well, if the President spends more time combating ISIS as you recommend, where does he get the money for that? And more specifically, in your mind, what specifically does he do to do that? Does that mean more troops back on the grounds in Iraq and Syria?
First of all, his first charge, his first constitutional duty is the defense and the protection of the United States and the American people.
But in specific actions, what does that mean?
That. What he needs to do is listen to his commanders. You've got someone from the Joint Chiefs saying that ISIS is not under control, and you've got the President out here saying we've contained them. Those are true conflicting statements. And that statement by the general was made this week in a hearing on Capitol Hill. So what the President needs to do is listen to these commanders in the field. You cannot say this is what we need and this is where we need to go.
If he listens to what's he going to hear? They need to put troops on the ground?
Build a strategy. He needs to build a strategy.
And
Pat, you and I
troops?
don't know what that strategy is going to be, and it's inappropriate to try to predetermine it. It is completely inappropriate for us to say, this is exactly what we need to do. The commanders know.
And with all
they ought to be listened to about this.
You mentioned the money to pay for it. Whatever we do in that would certainly be quite expensive.
It's our first constitutional duty.
So where does the money for that come from?
It is our first duty.
But if it's our first duty, where does the money for that come from, given all the other debt that we have?
That's right. We do have other debt, and if you can't address the national security issues, we are not going to have economic security. And when you look at this presidential election, 3 top issues resonate, especially with women: national security, job and economic security, and retirement security. Past that, nothing else is on the agenda. Global warming is probably down at number 15.
Okay, let's change the subject, go over to what's on people's minds for next year in terms of electing a new president. You still have 12 or 14 people in your party running to be your presidential nominee. Are you comfortable with any of them being on the ticket with you when you go on the ballot next November for election?
Yes, absolutely. any of them. And I think it is so interesting that the polling that came out this week, any of them beat Hillary Clinton in a head-to-head matchup. Now, we all know she's going to be tough to beat because the Clinton machine is going to gear up. But there are, when you do the word cloud, and some of the polling that I've had the opportunity to see regarding the presidential race, when you do the word cloud on Hillary, and voters respond as to their impression of her, the first thing they think of her of is a liar, second is dishonest, and third is untrustworthy.
Well, who will you support for the nomination? I'm sure they're all after you.
I'm going to support whomever is the nominee.
Are you going to get involved prior to that? I'm sure all of them are asking you. You're not going to endorse anybody before our March 1st primary in this state.
No.
And you're comfortable with somebody like Donald Trump, who some people in your own party question whether he really is a Republican.
Well, I think that what he says is he has kind of followed the Reagan route. He was a Democrat, then an independent, then a Republican. And it seems that he is leading. I was listening to some polls this morning driving in, and you know, his lead continues to grow. All of our candidates, whether it is Trump or Carson or Rubio or Cruz or Huckabee or Kasich or whomever, they all beat Hillary in a head-to-head.
And you're okay if it's Jeb Bush or somebody else from the more establishment wing of the party?
They would, if they're the one that gets the nomination, I'm going to work to make certain that they are president, because they're all going to do a better job than Hillary Clinton, and our nation needs leadership. Our nation needs our allies to see us with a good, strong, solid leader who does not back down to our enemies.
Congressman Blackburn, thank you for coming in.
You.
Always appreciate you doing it. We'll have you back here in the future.
Thanks.
And thank you for joining us this week on Inside Politics. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.